Good morning, everyone. My name is Brenda Ortiz. I am Associate Professor with the Crop, Soil, and Environmental Sciences Department. This morning, I will be providing a very brief update on the climate and weather during the past months and the upcoming climate forecast for the upcoming months. If you grow corn, you probably might be wondering what happened with your nitrogen application or your nitrogen uptake this season. Why is that? Because we have had a lot of rain. Personally, I have faced a lot of issues with standing, plant stand and germination, because we have had significant amount of rainfall. We have had also irrigation research plots that were supposed to receive different irrigation rates. So guess what? Some of my tests have not been irrigated at all. And why? It's because we have had frequent rainfall events. So I know some colleagues and I know some farmers that have had to replant their crops because of the frequent rains. So let's look at the data and let's look at what the data is telling us as far as rainfall for the past 90 days. So usually let me see, okay. So this map that is coming from NOAA, all the data that I will be showing is either from NOAA or from agroclimate.org. So this map shows the departure of precipitation from normal. And what normal means, they use 30, 40, 50 years of historic records of rainfall data, and they compare that historic records of rainfall data with the observed rainfall data during the month of May. You see that the blue colors or the pink colors on this map represent rainfall above normal or above historic averages. And there has been locations in Alabama, close to Montgomery, Autauga, where during the month of June, the records indicates that we have had more than 5 inches above the historic monthly rainfall for the month of May. We have had some regions in maybe Crossville, Alabama, that even Tuscaloosa, probably Pike County, where we have for the month of June, precipitation for the month of May, precipitation is slightly below, just slightly below, perhaps 1 inch, 2 inches below the historic records. So what happened in the month of June? Significant amount of rain. We have had, if you look at this map, most of the state, show that we were at least above 3 inches with respect to the historic records. We have most of the state, has this purple color that represents that we were above at least 4 inches of rain. I was looking at how this departure, what is the percent, what this departure represent above normal. And I didn't include the map, but it represents precipitation above 200%, at least above the historic records. So that's for the month of June. For the month of July, things are a little bit different. Yes, we have had a lot of rain, but again, sometimes we forget the historic records. Sometimes we forget that we have had years like this. And sometimes we tend to forget that perhaps this a rainy July represents, you know, the average, the historic average for a month of July in the state of Alabama. So yes, you know, we have areas like I'm showing in the map where we have had you know, precipitation above 3 inches for the month of July. But maybe, you know, on average, let's say in Henry County, precipitation has been almost equal to the historic records. In North Alabama, around Huntsville, precipitation, the records of July precipitation indicates precipitation above the historic records. Again, this data is coming straight from the NOAA website. I have included the link here, and so you can go and try to, you know, create these maps if you need, or check on their data. These maps in a different slightly format are also found on agroclimate.org. I have included the link just if you want to go back and check on the data, the past historic records. Okay, let's talk about forecast. You know, what is the forecast for the upcoming months? So this is again no precipitation forecast for the period August, September, October. When you see this map that is that doesn't have, that in your region, in our region, doesn't have any colors, that means that is that indicate that is equal than the historic records, equal than normal. And again, what normal means, I will give you some resources of where to look for that data. Equal than normal, meaning it's not gonna be drier, it's not gonna be wetter, it's gonna be equal than the historic records. And it's the same for the period October, November, December. Equal than normal, equal than the historic precipitation records for that period. And so forecast. So should we expect, are we expecting El Nino for the upcoming fall? Are we expecting La Nina for the upcoming fall? And we know that either Niño or Niña means different things with respect to precipitation and ambient temperature for us. Right now we are under neutral phase, okay? And I know Kathy is gonna ask me, Brenda, tell us what neutral phase means. You know, if you said neutral, it's not gonna mean much to me, but if you said neutral corresponds to this or that, that's information, okay? Neutral, when we have a neutral phase, we have a lot of variability in weather conditions. It can be, it's almost like you said, like we said, all over the place. It's a lot, we can expect a lot of variability in rainfall, okay? Let's see what the ENSO forecast is, or at least the current NOAA forecast for the upcoming fall. I know there is a lot of information on this graph. And again, it's all about probability. And this probability corresponds to results from climate models, okay? So let's look at, this is where we are, June, July, August, okay? June, July, August, the probability, and this is where we are, green bars corresponds to the probability of being in neutral phase. Red bars corresponds to the probability of being Niño phase, okay? So the probability for being neutral, okay, stays pretty much until September, October, November. The probability of being neutral phase of ENSO over either niño or niña is much higher. It's much higher. Look at this. There is 50, almost 55 chance of remaining under neutral conditions with respect to 40, almost 38% of being niño phase for the period September, October, November, and it's the same for October, November, December, okay? So that's where we have, and apparently, where we have today as far as climate forecast, apparently we might stay in neutral conditions for the fall and part of the winter. What neutral means for us in the state of Alabama? Okay, you can go and find this information on agroclimate. So in agroclimate, if you click on tools, okay, if you click on tools, then you click on climate, and then you click on weather stations. You will see this map, and you can either search for weather data and historic records of climate, historic records of weather using your zip code, or you just click on the pins on this map, okay? So let's imagine that I'm interested on looking at the data from Headland, Alabama. Okay, so I click on the pin. I didn't enter the zip code, but you can go either way. So you click on the pin close to Headland, Alabama, then you click for graphs and data. And then this graph is gonna be displayed, and this is exactly what the historic records of weather data for the Henry County Weather Station show for neutral years. So if you have, let's say, a 30, 40 years of weather data, those years can be, some of those years can be niño, some of those years can be niña, and some of those years can be neutral. So this data is showing you only data from neutral years. And that's what neutral means for Henry County, Alabama. But I want to compare and look at the deviation. This is the deviation values with respect to the historic records, okay? For the entire series of records with observation for that particular county, okay? So let's say if you look at this, with respect to the historic records, September, the deviation indicates 0. For September, deviation indicates 0 for October, meaning that what the historic records for neutral years indicates is almost equal to the data from all the years observed for that particular station. Let's look at this in a graphic format. So on that particular option, if you look at, you can see the data on this format, but if you click here on select ENSO phase, and then you select compare ENSO phases, and then you click here on deviation from all years, you see this graph, and I personally like that graph. Some people might find the graph complicated, but what this graph is telling us is comparing all the ENSO phases with respect to the historic records. A zero line is all years, meaning average of 30, 40 years. And these lines are showing you whether precipitation for that particular ENSO phase is above or below the historic records observed for that particular weather station. For example, I'm still in Henry County. What the records are indicating me for the month of August, we are on a neutral phase, is that we might expect, let's say, 0.25 inches above the historic records, okay, for rainfall, 0.25 inches, we might expect for the month of August above the historic records. September and October can be equal to the historic records. So what the historic records for neutral years indicates that we might have in September 4 inches of rain, in October 2.8 inches of rain, November 3.8, okay? So then we have to ask the specialists, the cotton extension agronomists and the peanut extension agronomists. Is 4 inches, good for peanuts? Is too much? Is too low? So they are the ones that can tell us if that's too much or too low, okay? Let's look at Talladega. I know Christy Hicks and, the farmers in Talladega might be interested. They don't grow much peanuts, but some of them might grow some cotton. So you see, for the month of August, we might expect 0.4 inches above the historic records on a neutral year, okay? So, and a little bit slightly, below, almost, quarter of an inch less rainfall in the month of September. Let's look at Belmina, okay? So again, it's half an inch above historic records for the month of August, and slightly below historic records, like a quarter of an inch less rainfall for the month of October. So that's pretty much what I have for you today. I'll be happy if you can, some of you have my contact information, you can give me a call, and I'll be happy to expand on what I have presented today. And that's my presentation.
Thank you, Brenda. Any questions?